It's 8 o'clock. Good morning. This is Northern Light for Tuesday, May 30th. I'm Todd Moe. The new administrator of the St. Lawrence Seaway says two potential changes to shipping that could damage the ecology of the St. Lawrence River are off the table. Administrator Adam Tyndall-Schlicht says wider channels and locks and winter navigation are not likely to happen.
Winter maintenance period is critical for us to reinvest in complete capital projects on the locks themselves. In terms of changing the size of the locks, I do not anticipate that to be taking place in our lifetime either.
Coming up, we have more conversation with the new Seaway administrator. Jefferson County is in the process of hiring a new housing director whose main job will be addressing homelessness. Supporters of a bill to reduce plastic packaging by half over the next decade say they're hopeful it could become law this year.
One product from Amazon, it came in this, then it came in this. Why do we need this level of packaging?
And also, the Norwood Village Green Concert Series kicks off its 50th anniversary season this summer. We'll talk with the founder. That's all coming up on Northern Light. Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by Adirondack Foundation and the Adirondack Birth to Three Alliance, dedicated to providing all children the best possible start in life. AdirondackBT3.org. And by Citizen Advocates, offering the North Country mental health, addiction, and housing services, plus crisis care, job training, and more. CitizenAdvocates.net/124. This is Northern Light. I'm Todd Moe. Monica Sandreski will be back tomorrow. The St. Lawrence Seaway has both an oversized and understated presence in the North Country. Oversized because the freighters from the Atlantic Ocean that squeeze through the locks in Messina and the Thousand Islands are a marvel to behold. Understated because the Seaway, while not the economic driver that was promised when it was built back in the 1950s, does employ 120 people in Messina. There's also a port in Ogdensburg, and the Seaway has had a huge, mostly negative effect on the environment of the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes. So the person who runs it matters. As of last November, that's Adam Tyndall-Schlicht. The new Seaway administrator told David Summerstein before he directed the Port of Milwaukee, he worked at the Seaway itself for almost a decade, doing all kinds of jobs.
Management analyst, IT specialist, cybersecurity specialist, personnel security officer, emergency coordinator. During that time of employment with the Seaway, again, generally from about 2010 to 2018, I had the good occasion to spend several weeks per year working with our colleagues here in the North Country. The weekends and holidays that I've spent professionally and personally in Messina have endeared me to this community. So it really was a rare and special privilege in 2022 when President Biden asked me to return to Messina, return to D.C. as Seaway Administrator. I couldn't resist.
One of the big questions we have locally, and that's been a big controversy over a few decades, is the potential of expansion of bigger locks, bigger channels, and also of year-round navigation that obviously would make a smoother system for shippers, but would cause a lot of other problems. That had previously been off the table, most recently with the last couple administrators. Is that something that you would put back on the table? What's the status of those?
Not at this time. I'll address both pieces separately. In terms of year-round navigation, we do not anticipate that to occur, certainly not while I'm administrator. The winter maintenance period is critical for us to reinvest in complete capital projects on the locks themselves. So in addition to not operating because of winter weather, it's become a useful time for us to do repairs, modernizations, improvements, and other upgrades to the locks. We'll continue to leverage that winter season for that work. In terms of changing the size of the locks, I do not anticipate that to be taking place in our lifetime either. I look at the Sioux Lock project that's taking place near Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, as administered by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That lock modernization project is costing multiple billions of dollars. Multiply that by 2 U.S. locks, Snell and Eisenhower here. We just don't anticipate that taking place from a financial perspective.
Another concern that people have across the Great Lakes and certainly in the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario is invasive species. What's your position on freighters, international freighters in particular, having better ballast water technology to, kill organisms that could come in that could be the next invasive species?
The intervention that the U.S. and Canadian Seaway corporations led almost 15 years ago, I would submit it has been one of the most fruitful and successful ballast water management regimes that have taken place. As a result of the treatment plus flushing requirement that has been implemented over the last 15 years, there has been no new introduction of aquatic nuisance or invasive species through the locks of the Seaway via ballast water. My intention as administrator is to maintain that 100% compliance.
Would you support additional technologies as to clean ballast water, as there are some bills in Congress about?
The United States Congress, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and others are continually looking at the rules and regulations regarding ballast water, not just here for the Great Lakes, but all U.S. territorial waters. And certainly the International Maritime Organization in London, the Canadian government. The key is regulatory harmonization. The key is 100% compliance. The key is making sure that regulation is tied to science, is tied to practice.
I read that you're the first openly gay administrator and the first openly gay port director, I believe, when you're in Milwaukee.
I've had a very blessed career. So, I am both the youngest administrator and the first openly gay administrator in the history of the Seaway. I'm 39 years old. When I was director of Port Milwaukee, again, my home port from 2018 until 2022, similarly, I was the only openly gay port director on the Great Lakes, and again, the youngest port director on the Great Lakes at the time. For me, I talk openly about my identity as a queer person, especially with Pride Month, mere days away, because I believe that the Great Lakes maritime industry, that communities like Messina, that communities like Milwaukee, that industries like shipping are creating spaces for new and exciting voices that 30, 40, 50 years ago might not have had a seat at that table. I'm living proof that Great Lakes shipping and the Seaway itself is a community where all people can come to work, can feel respected, can feel that they're making a contribution. You can go from being a management analyst and an IT specialist to administrator of the Seaway in just over 10 years. It's been such a nurturing and wonderful experience to be in this field, especially as a gay man.
Adam Tyndall Schlicht is the administrator for the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation based in D.C., but he says he spends about a third of his time at the headquarters in Messina. He spoke with David Summerstein. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. Good morning. It's 8:10. I'm Todd Moe. Monica will be back tomorrow morning. Stay with us. Coming up in just a few minutes, a plastics reduction bill making its way through Albany, but will lawmakers approve it and will become law before they're set to adjourn for the summer? Karen DeWitt has that story coming up in a few minutes. This is music by the group December Wind out of Akwesasne. You can check out more of their music on our website. It's part of our Underscore project. Check it out anytime at ncpr.org/underscore. Northern Light is supported by Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And St. Lawrence Health offering MyCare, a way for patients to access health information and stay connected to their care team. Registration is available at stlawrencehealthsystem.org. A fire early Saturday morning destroyed a historic Adirondack Inn, according to Syracuse.com. The Big Moose Inn in Eagle Bay near Old Forge was built in 1903. Police say its owner, who lives next door, spotted fire near the rear pantry around 3 a.m. Saturday and ran to wake up and evacuate the guests. No one was injured. Firefighters battled the blaze for hours from land and from Big Moose Lake. Police say the inn appears to be a total loss. Jefferson County is in the process of hiring a new housing director whose main job will be addressing homelessness in the city of Watertown. Lucy Grindon has more.
Homelessness became more visible in Jefferson County this past winter.
The homeless issue in Jefferson County really came to the forefront with the condemnation of some of our apartment buildings and loss of our hotels through fires.
That's Teresa Gaffney. She's the commissioner of the county's Department of Social Services. She says some of the people who'd been living in those buildings had no place to go and ended up sleeping in a public pavilion for weeks until the city set up a temporary homeless shelter.
We really didn't have one agency that was coordinating things.
Gaffney says the situation was a wake-up call for the community.
We kind of came to realize that we kind of needed a point person to help the county address these issues.
That's the main reason Jefferson County has decided to create a new position, Director of Housing and Special Initiatives. They'll respond to emergencies, like winter storms, and they'll try to get more unhoused people into stable situations. Gaffney says that some of the county's unhoused population are currently living in hotels or motels, while others live outside. She wants to make sure the person they hire to help already knows about local housing rules and agencies.
We would like them to have a good understanding of what homelessness looks like in our county, because it's kind of different in every county.
Gaffney says they hope to hire someone in July. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio.
With just 7 days left in the 2023 legislative session, advocates for a measure that would reduce plastic packaging by half say their bill is gaining momentum. As Karen DeWitt reports, they hope it will become law before lawmakers are set to adjourn for the summer on June 8th.
Judith Enck is the former EPA regional administrator who's now head of Beyond Plastics at Bennington College. She says the chairs of the environmental committees in the Senate and Assembly are the bill's prime sponsors, and Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie and Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins have expressed interest in advancing the measure over the next 2 weeks.
This is a moment for the New York State Legislature to provide vital leadership in the next 2 weeks. And 2 weeks at the end of the legislative session is really like 2 months. They can get it done if it's a priority for the Speaker and the Majority Leader.
Enck says plastic pollution is so insidious that traces of plastics are found in drinking water and the human body, including in some newborn babies. Plus, she says, it's annoying. Hank used as an example a package her colleague received from Amazon.
This is a real example.
The wood-made alternative to a plastic highlighter pen that she ordered came wrapped in several packaging layers like a Russian nesting doll.
One product from Amazon, it came in this, then it came in this.
In all, she unwrapped 2 plastic envelopes, a glassine envelope and a paper one, and finally a clear plastic wrapper containing the pens.
Why do we need this level of packaging for wooden highlighters? Amazon would save money by just sending it perhaps in a little recyclable cardboard box.
The bill would gradually phase in the 50% packaging reduction requirement over a period of 12 years. It would also ban a practice sought by the industry, the burning of some plastic packaging items that are not able to reach overcapacity recycling markets. It would also ban toxins in packaging, including heavy metals and PFAS chemicals. 4 other states have similar laws already on the books, including California. Supporters believe that the combined market share of New York and California would likely result in the companies reducing their packaging for other states and nations as well. Opposition includes large companies like Amazon, McDonald's, and Mars Candy Company, as well as the American Chemistry Council, a plastics manufacturing lobby group. Hank says they've been fighting the bill.
We're not out of the woods yet. I want to be really clear.
Advocates say polls show that the public is on their side. They delivered a petition including 13,000 e-signatures to the Assembly and Senate leadership offices. Lawmakers were off for the long holiday weekend before resuming session later Tuesday for a 2-week sprint to adjournment. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt.
Vermont's governor has vetoed a state budget that would have been the largest in the state's history. Republican Governor Phil Scott said the proposed budget would unfairly raise taxes and fees on state residents. The budget was well over $8 billion. He said in his Saturday veto message that Vermonters have made it clear that living in the state is not affordable and lawmakers shouldn't ask them to take on more burden. Governor Scott called on lawmakers to work with him on a new spending plan. The Vermont legislature is controlled by Democrats and adjourned its session by passing the budget. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe. Coming up in just a minute, celebrating decades of live music on a village park in a small town in St. Lawrence County. We'll check in with Joe Liotta with the Norwood Village Green Concert Series. It kicks off Thursday night. And also it's back to more of Morning Edition at 8:30. The Weather Service says sunshine and warm temperatures the next few days. Could see highs approaching 90 on Thursday and Friday. Today, a high around 80. Sunshine, with light winds out of the south-southwest. Clear skies tonight, overnight lows in the 50s. We might see some hazy sunshine tomorrow. The Weather Service says some areas of patchy smoke tomorrow. That's smoke from the Western Canadian wildfires. So some hazy, smoky sunshine tomorrow. Thursday, sunny, highs near 90, and maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm on Friday with highs around 90 in the afternoon. Right now in Canton, sunshine and 64 degrees. Well, it's going to be a big summer this summer in one North Country community. What started as a musical tribute to Norwood's centennial has grown to a summer-long musical tribute that includes top musicians from around the region and the world. This summer marks the 50th anniversary season for the Norwood Village Green concert series. And last week, I stopped by the band shell in downtown Norwood to catch up with series founder Joe Leota to talk about bringing live music to a small-town park every summer for decades, starting back in the early 70s.
Norwood always had music. So what we did in 1974, we had 4 concerts. And it started with things that the fire department band used to do. They used to do concerts weekly at one time. And then they did concerts occasionally. And so it started, that was the inspiration of it.
4 concerts that first year.
Yeah.
And look where you are today, 50 years later. Let's talk about this year. You've divided things up a bit. You've got local, you've got international, you've got Grammy Award winners.
The whole concert series evolved, and it got different as we went along. So basically, this series, I've got a great program guide, which is 16 pages long, and it's got the whole history of everything. I've got 3 pages of photographs in that thing. And basically, we're having our 25th and 26th Grammy Award winners this year. John Jorgensen, who is a great guitar player, his bluegrass band. He has 5 different bands because he plays in all different styles. He's played from everybody from Pavarotti and on tour with Elton John for 8 years, and the works. So he's one of our 25th and 26th. And then I've got Ranky Tanky, who won the 2nd Grammy Award this year. The recording for that Grammy was recorded live at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. And it's South Carolina Gullah music updated, basically, and it's very inspirational.
What's changed in 50 years? I mean, has it been easier? Has it been more of a challenge? 50 years ago, you had a system, and is it still sort of the same thing? You're getting out there and sort of seeing who's available? And
well, what happened 50 years ago, and for the first 10 years, I didn't even have to look at scheduling until February or March, and they just called up people locally, and you just filled it in. Nowadays, you're 2 years in advance on things. I've got I just wrote a grant out for a Korean group for June 23rd of next year, of the 2024. And that's how you have to look at things nowadays. Yeah. We had a group coming down here from Burkina Faso one year, and we had to get all kinds of State Department things. And basically, we didn't actually know they were going to be able to come until 2 days before. And so and then I had a group from Montreal, a salsa group. We sent them over after the sound check was a rehearsal for them. We sent them over to St. Philip's Church to get something to eat and all that stuff, and they didn't come back. And I'm standing here, and
it's the concert time,
right?
Yeah,
10 minutes later, finally. So then they came back and they played right through, and it was great.
Yeah. I want to ask you one more question, Joe, and that is, and I think I asked you the same question 20 years ago, what keeps you going? Why is this so important? 50 years you've been doing this. You could say, it's time to let it go. It's time to let the younger generation take over. But in some ways, you're sort of a one-man show, and you do a lot of the work, I assume, still yourself. What keeps you going? And
we're trying our best to try to phase me out, and it's very difficult to do. What keeps me going, I feel like if I wasn't doing this, I don't know what I'd be doing. I have too much time on my hands. And on the other hand, I feel sometimes overwhelmed, too. I don't know what keeps me going. It's just something I do.
But you taught music for years, so you've always loved music. It's been important to you, right?
Well, yeah, and presenting music came right from my high school, in the sense that I was in a fraternity that we used to run dances. And we used to not run the typical dance. We used to run dances in these wedding palaces outside of our school district. And we'd hire bands that were well known to everybody. And we'd make some money on it. And basically we hired the Tito Puente Orchestra on a Sunday afternoon with a local house band. So I guess that's where my starting out trying to do presentations.
But I think it's dedication, too.
Yeah.
I think it's dedication. That's really cool.
Another interesting thing to me is having former students play for me. Phil Hurley over here, for example. A lot of former students. And one of our concerts this year, by the way, is called the Norwood Stock. And basically, Northbound is going to be the house band. A lot of different people are going to play with them. And some of them are my former students. Some of them are from Alaska. And they come down here every so often. They happen to be coming down here this year, and they're going to be performing on that day.
And they're calling it Nora Woodstock. I like that.
Don Canamella came up with that name.
Joe, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
Joe Leota is the founder of the Norwood Village Green Concert Series. It kicks off Thursday night for its 50th anniversary season in downtown Norwood. Bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, bring the family. A lot of young musicians will be on stage Thursday night. Also, the Phoenix Jazz Cooperative. It starts at 6 o'clock, and there's more information on our website for the Norwood Village Green Concert Series, kicking off its 50th anniversary this Thursday, June 1st, and it continues through much of the summer. Again, check our website for a link to the Norwood Village Green Concert Series. There's a lot going on as summer has, kicked off this week, I guess you could say. The Great Adirondack Birding Celebration is at the Paul Smith's College Vic starting this weekend. It's designed to introduce birders of all ages and skill levels to the boreal bird species and habitats in the Adirondack Park. There are birding field trips to important bird areas, full and half-day trips Saturday and Sunday, presentations by ornithologists from around the country. If you want more information, check the Paul Smith's College Vic website, paulsmithsvic.org. There's a link right on their front page. The Great Adirondack Birding Celebration, June 2nd through the 4th. That's this coming weekend at the Paul Smith's Vic. Also, there is some great music happening at the Paul Smith's Vic as well. The Susquehanna String Band concert is coming up on June 9th. That's going to be at the Paul Smith's Vic. June 9th, 7 to 8 o'clock, the Susquehanna String Band Concert. And here's a little taste of their music. Music Over the Marsh, coming up on June 9th, 7 to 8 p.m. at the Paul Smith's College Vic. The Susquehanna String Band, Rick Bunting, Dan Duggan, and John Kirk. Great music at the Paul Smith's Vic on June 9th. And again, don't forget the Great Adirondack Birding Celebration, June 2nd through the 4th. Check out more information at paulsmithsvic.org. That's it for Northern Light for this Tuesday, May 30th. Stay tuned. More of Morning Edition coming up in just a moment. Till tomorrow, I'm Todd Moe. Be well.